Hello and welcome. This is We Make Art, and I'm your host, Renaissance woman and founder of Elemental Alchemy, Sarah Rockwood. Today, I want to talk about creative blocks, but not in the way we usually talk about them, because I feel that often when someone says they're blocked, what they really mean is, I can't access myself. I can't feel the thread. I don't know why something that used to feel so alive in me now feels so far away. Or I don't know where the art went. And when that happens, the first instinct is often to blame ourselves. We think we need more discipline, more structure, more inspiration, a better routine, a clearer plan, a new notebook. Okay, realistically, you always need a new notebook. We will not debate that. Maybe like a new desk, a new identity, maybe. We tell ourselves we've lost momentum, we've fallen behind, we're not committed enough, we're not serious enough, we're not real artists anymore. But what if that isn't true? What if your creative block is not a failure of devotion? What if it's not proof that your art has left you? What if your creative block is a wellness signal? A message from the body, a flare from the nervous system, a quiet, sacred interruption saying, something here needs care. Now, before we go any further, let's take a full breath with me. Just one full inhalation and a slow exhale. Let the shoulders drop. Let the face relax. Good. Let's begin. Because we need to soften the way we speak about creative blocks. Not because they aren't frustrating, they are. There are few things more painful than feeling, for an artist, like feeling that you are disconnected from the very thing that makes you feel most alive. When your art is close, life has texture. There's meaning in the ordinary. There's music in the body. There is a current running beneath the day. And when that connection goes quiet, it can feel like something inside you has gone missing. But I don't believe your art disappears. I don't believe the artist dies within you. I believe there are seasons when she goes underground. Not as punishment, not as abandonment, not because you failed her, but because something in you is reorganizing. The other day, someone commented on one of my posts and described the seasons when we aren't making art as a chrysalis. And I love that, because from the outside, a chrysalis can look like nothing is happening. No movement, no wings, no proof, no performance. But inside, everything is dissolving. Everything is becoming. Everything is being remade. And I wonder how many artists are looking at their chrysalis season and calling them failure. I wonder how many women are in deep internal transformation and punishing themselves because they don't look productive enough from the outside. I wonder how many creative blocks are actually thresholds. A pause before the next form, a silence before the next voice, a stillness before the next body of work. And I'm not saying this, I really want to be clear. I am not saying this to romanticize stuff. That's easy for me to say. To romanticize suffering. I'm not saying burnout is beautiful. I'm not saying exhaustion is sacred because it hurts. I'm not saying you should stay stuck and call it transformation. What I'm saying is sometimes the block is not the enemy. Sometimes the block is the messenger. And if we only attack it, override it, shame it, or try to hack our way through it, we may miss what it came to show us. Because your art is not separate from the life your body is living. Your creativity is not floating above you in some clean, untouched realm. It lives in your body. It moves through your breath, your voice, your hands, your hips, your energy, your boundaries, your grief, your longing, your capacity to receive pleasure, your capacity to feel safe being seen. So if your body is exhausted, your art feels that. If your nervous system is braced, your art feels that. If your days are filled with everyone else's needs, your art feels that too. If your sleep is broken, your boundaries are porous, your body is dehydrated, your heart is carrying too much, your creative life is going to respond, not because you are weak, because you are whole. And this is where so many creative conversations miss the mark. They treat art like an output problem, as if the only question is, how do I get myself to make more? But for many artists, especially women, especially sensitive, high capacity women who have spent years holding space for everyone else, the deeper question is, what conditions does my art actually need in order to feel safe returning? Not what conditions would make me look impressive, not what routine would make me seem disciplined, not what pace would prove I'm serious, but what conditions would allow my body, my spirit, and my creative self to trust me again? And that is a very different question. Because if you have been creating from survival for a long time, peace can feel suspicious. Rest can feel irresponsible. Slowness can feel like danger, and spaciousness can feel almost unbearable. You may say you want more time for your art, but when that time arrives, your body panics. You may say you want to write, paint, sing, dance, build, make, but the moment you sit down, everything in you goes blank. That blankness doesn't mean there is nothing within you. It means your body does not feel safe enough to let the art come forward. Not yet. And that state deserves tenderness, not force. Tenderness. Because the artist inside you is not a machine. She is not an algorithm. She is not a content calendar. She is not a productivity hack. She is not a brand asset. She is alive. And living things need care. They need water, rest, movement, protection. They need warmth. They need rhythm. So maybe the question is not, why am I blocked? Maybe it's an exploration of, where am I undernourished? Where am I overextended? Where am I ignoring my own needs because someone else's comfort has felt more important? Where have I mistaken pressure for devotion? And And why have I been asking my art to bloom in a body that has not been allowed to rest? This is not a small inquiry. This is not surface level self-care. This is creative reclamation. Because sometimes the way back to your art does not begin with making art. Sometimes it begins with listening to how tired you are, to how much resentment has built up because your boundaries have been crossed again and again. Listening to the part of you that misses movement, not as exercise, but as expression. Listening to the part of you that needs a slower evening, a deeper breath, a glass of water. Sometimes the return begins there. Not at the canvas, not at the microphone, not at the blank page, but in the body that has to carry you back to those places. And I know this can be hard to accept. I have struggled with it myself and continue to do so every once in a while because we live in a culture that loves visible output. It loves the finished book, the song, the show, the launch, the reveal, the proof. But the creative life is not only made of beautiful things we show to others. It is also made of hidden seasons, private devotion, quiet repair, and small returns. The 10 minutes you spend telling the truth in your journal, the day you chose a nap instead of pushing past your body's limits, the evening you put on music and let your body sway, not to perform, not to burn calories, not to become anything, but because your body wanted to remember it could move. They may not look like art from the outside, but they are part of the ecosystem that allows art to thrive. And when we start seeing creative blocks, not as an absence of creativity, but as a call for deeper care, something softens. The block becomes less of a wall and more of a doorway. Not always an easy doorway. Sometimes it asks us to look at things we have avoided, our exhaustion, our grief, our resentment, our fear of being seen, our fear of beginning again, our fear that if we return to our art, we may have to change our lives in order to nurture it. But on the other side of that door is not just more productivity, it's a renewed relationship with the body, with your rhythm, with the artist in you who has been waiting to spread her wings again. And this is why I created Creative Wellness. Not as a fix, not as another thing to achieve, not as a place where you have to optimize yourself in order to be productive again, but as a gentle journaling experience for the artist who knows she is ready to come home to herself, softly, honestly, and without pressure. Inside Creative Wellness, you move through 5 reflective sections that mirror what we've talked about today: sleep, movement, water, boundaries, and art. You also receive a grounding visualization. That is easy for me to say. Visualization. Is that how you say it? Visualization to help your body soften before you begin the practice. The experience is designed as a no-pressure space for reconnection, not performance. A place to listen to what your body, your rhythm, and your creative self may be asking for now. And it's $22 Canadian. It's simple, immediate, gentle, accessible. A place to begin today. So if this episode has stirred something in you, If you've been calling yourself blocked, but some deeper part of you is wondering whether your body is actually asking for care, I invite you to begin with creative wellness. It's time to release the compulsion to force the art, to shame the silence, to demand wings before the chrysalis has finished its sacred work. And instead, begin listening, begin returning. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you soon.